Hello, friends, family, otherwise. Welcome to the wonderful world of PLUGH.js. Plug is a very simple JavaScript library that will let you create your own text adventures. I'm going to show you the very basics of it in this tutorial, and in future tutorials we'll go over some more advanced functionality. So I'm just going to start with a file called index.html. Of course, you can name it whatever you want, it just needs to be an HTML file. And get yourself a copy of plug.js and put it in some nearby folder. So I've gone ahead and done a little bit of boilerplate here. I've just created a div with an arbitrary ID. I've named it game, and I've included the plug.js script with a script tag. Now we're going to make another script tag, and we're going to initialize the plug game object so we can have access to all of its goodies. Game equals new plug. And then we're going to initialize it with game.init. And inside of init, we're going to put the query selector for our game div. So the ID is game, we put hash game in there. Okay, and with that, let's go over to the HTML file. Ta-da, we have an interface. And right now, it won't actually do anything because there's no game attached to it, but just giving it the query selector of the div that we want it to be on will generate the entire UI, and we can inspect element, and there it all is. And by default, plug comes with no styling, so you can do whatever styling you want. And there are boilerplate styles you can use, but it's up to you. Okay, so we have an engine, but no game. So let's make a very, very simple game. All that this game is going to have is two rooms. Room 1 is going to have a rock in it, and room 2 is going to have a baseball. I just decided that's what the game is going to have. Okay, so let's make a room object, new room. Room 1, you don't need to namespace your stuff. I like to with a roux, it keeps everything unique. Doesn't really matter though. Room 1, so property number 1, argument number 1 is the unique identifier for the room. Property number 2 is the name of the room, and this will appear in the window title and other places. And argument number 3 is an object. And this object has several properties. The number 1 is intro. Number 2 is description. And number 3 is objects. Objects is an array. So intro is what the user sees when they enter the room, or the room begins when it gets loaded. Description is what they see when they say look around in that room. And objects are the objects that they can interact with when they're in that room. So intro, you enter a mostly barren, nondescript room. This is the most exciting game ever made. Description, you're in a barren, boring room. Make a better one yourself. Okay. Objects. We're going to fill the room with some game objects. So we do new game object, j underscore, I said we're going to put a rock in here. The first argument for game object is the name, the unique identifier for the object in the room. The second one is the proper name, what the user is going to see when they say look around. So we'll just put rock. Let's give it something more descriptive. Let's call it a boring rock. And the third argument is an object. So the object we fill with all of the descriptive properties for this object. So for example, a site property is what the user will see when they say look at rock. It's a very boring rock that does nothing. Boy, this game is awesome. So let's save this and let's see what we have so far. Oh, forgot one thing. To get to this room, we need to say game.load room, and then we put in the unique identifier for the room 1. Now, if we open it, we're in a barren, you enter a mostly barren nondescript room. If we say look around, we get the description. This is the intro, this is the description, and we get all the objects that are in the room. So if we say look at rock, did I not? Oh, I forgot something. Great tutorial. We can't forget to also give it aliases. Aliases are what the user can put in to actually access this object. So these will be the things that the user can say in order to get the descriptions and properties of this object. So we'll say rock. If the user says look at rock, they'll be able to do that. Stone. If the user says look at stone, they'll be able to do that. Pebble. If the user says look at pebble, they're going to be able to do that. So now we refresh. Look at stone. Look at pebble. Look at rock. And we can do all of those things. Okay, so we've got a really swell game now. Now, we said we were going to add a second room. Let's make a new room, row 2, 2. Getting a little confused here. Intro, you enter the second room. Not going to get at all fancy here. Description in the second room. And all I'm going to put in this room, actually, don't need to use quotation marks, but I like to. All I'm going to put in this room is a door. New game object, door. Door to the first room. We give it the object, and we give it aliases so the user can actually refer to it. Door. I think for our purposes, we're going to use door. You could be more creative, gateway, whatever. And we say enter. Now in PLUGH.js, you can either give a property of a string, and that will just print out the string, or you can give it a function, and when the user refers to it by this property, it will execute that function. So we're just going to do game.load room through room 1. Now there's actually no way to get to this room right now, so we're going to put that room in here. You should change that to be door to the second room, and change this to be room 2. Okay, now if we look, there's a boring rock and a door to the second room. Enter door. We enter the second room. We look, and there's just a door to the first room. So now we can enter door, and we can go back and forth between the rooms. Joy, oh joy. This is the most basic example of what you can do with PLUGH.js. There's tons of different properties you can access, and just about every function you could need to make a working, exciting, parser-based text adventure. So join us next time. We'll cover more advanced usage, and we will go through the different functions you can use to do special events in PLUGH.js. Thank you.